Thank you for joining us in the KEXP studios. I'm Cheryl Waters here on listener-powered KEXP, and I am joined by a band that has stolen my heart. It's Maita. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you and your band here. You want to start off with some songs and then we can chat?
Will do.
It's Maita live on KEXP.
Pastel Concrete, boardwalk, beach, a condo named after a town in Italy. Sea spray parking, you can cross beneath the overpass to reach the sand, still is free. I feel my feeling, I feel a part of something shining dreams we still can't see. Ooh, and we may still get paid for it. Ooh, you may still get paid for it. I can't afford your love. I can't afford your love. Can't afford your love. I can't afford your love. Lonely morning, my European clock tick taking me to wake up in LA. A place of mourning, I land upon that checker square so tall it catches all the crimson air. I do not know you, but I do know your fight. I hope the casting goes on next week. Ooh, and I hope you'll be paid for it. Ooh, I hope you'll be paid for it. I can't afford your love. I can't afford your love. Can't afford your love. I can't afford your love. Can't afford your love. I can't afford it.
You're listening to Maita live on KEXP, playing songs from the new album, I Just Want to Be Wild for You.
All right, we're going to play you a song about loneliness. Out of the restaurant onto the pavement, I caught my own face in a window.
You're listening to Maita live in the KEXP studios. Lots of tuning for these wonderful songs.
These happen to be a collection of songs that I guess don't roll one to the next. It's too easy.
Does that mean they're your favorite on the record, though?
They are some ones that we really like a lot. So this next one's kind of a little bit of a. It wasn't one of the singles, but it's a song that's kind of special for me. It's called Ex-Wife. Don't think I don't know how I seem to the suits in your hall. I know they ask you everything and nothing at all. Oh, my geography, here is one road I knew I would take. Nothing easy but pleasing. Now take me out on vacation one more time. You stack the days, pick the place, take the wheel and steer the way. I'll slumber here in the passenger seat, keeping my feet on my side. I've nothing to say. On my side, I've nothing to say. I know she's waiting, a golden woman on the ocean. Looks nothing like me, she busts you right open. Lingering phantoms, friend you had, you loved, she was the one. What a shame, she made beautiful sons. Oh, what a tragedy, all of our money, and no one is hungry, no one is hungry. In the morning, in my bed, I wanted another. Cradled in your sleeping bed, I wanted another. You could never quite forget, you wanted another. For all I did and all I said, I wanted another. 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 Someday I'll drive to the ocean and someday I'll drive to the ocean and
You're listening to Maita live here in the KEXP studios, songs from the new album, I Just Want to Be Wild for You. And you're going to play something next from your 2020 release, Best Wishes, I think.
Yeah. We were going to just play songs off the new one, but I mean, we thought about it for a while, and you know, this record, Best Wishes, which we released really at the very cusp of the pandemic, it was one that we didn't get to share in a live setting in the way that we truly wanted to, and so it just felt right to kind of give it that little bit of love that it never got, I guess.
That's a story we're hearing far too often, and we need to give those little pandemic record babies the light they deserve.
So this song is called A Beast, and and it's kind of about emotional baggage and the wounds that we carry with ourselves throughout our lives, even after we've forgiven, and how that can affect us.
They bear the burdens I'll willingly pay for. You have your own, they live deep in the folds of your cynical mind like mice. I have been bit by them 2 times or thrice, and the skin on my hand became tough to the touch. Now they sleep deeply, you oil the crease of my bone. In all my dreams I'm more careful than kind. Keep my 2 hands clean and my tongue on nice, and I dare you and dare you. Fool me twice, I'd pay any price to be right. 'Cause you didn't speak until it got real bad. You didn't speak, then you broke what you had. Let time run its course. But I forgive like a dog. Somewhere in my bones, these wounds, they make that hole. But I'm glad you're on my way by the door, licking the floor. How long can a man ignore a beast and her sores? You a girl who made bare of the world, 'cause the light that she wears takes more eyes than is fair. She holds the weight of a heart that yearns for most to love. I saw her love and read her lover's love. She burned red, I turned green. Did I know anything? But when push came to shove, love, it wasn't enough. We know nothing. 'Cause he didn't speak until it got real bad. He didn't speak or we to go mad. Must time run its course? I never could forget, but I forgive like a dog. Somewhere in my bones, these wounds, they make that hole. But I'm glad you're on my way by the door, licking the floor. How long can a man ignore a beast and her swords? How long can a man ignore a beast and her swords?
That's wonderful. It's Maita live here in the KEXP studios, ABs from the 2020 album Best Wishes, which was in constant rotation for me during the pandemic. And I'm in love with the new album as well. I Just Want to Be Wild for You. And a lot of the songs on the record kind of revolve around over-communication, definitely communication, and disconnection. And I love the way that you look and think deeply about certain emotions and tease really unique ideas out of them. Can you talk about what about that really piques your interest and makes you want to look at it in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it is a product of myself being quite an overthinker, and I really try to consider every situation from every single angle over and over again, and sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that can end up being a bad thing and can result in some strange things happening with expression of emotion and communication. And with this particular record, I was noticing that every moment of disconnect or lack of passion or feeling like you're not quite in sync with somebody else, under every single one of those moments, there's a lot of emotion and passion because something isn't being understood. And so the songs on I Just Want to Be Wild for You try to get to whatever that underlying passion or intensity is that's not being expressed in any particular situation or that's not landing.
When you played Ex-Wife, you mentioned that that's one of your favorite songs. Can you talk about why?
Yeah, so that song came about. I was working at this job where I had to go into an office every so often, and I had a coworker who would complain about his wife a lot, and she soon became his ex-wife. But I found her to be a really interesting idea in my head because I heard all about her through this lens that was obviously very biased, and it made me want to kind of imagine what her story could be. And then I thought a lot about, the untold stories of maybe a wife or an ex. The word ex-wife has such meaning in our culture, and it's like a very it can often be a very negative and like very tainted word. And I think that also like comes from like my parents getting divorced when I was a kid and like thinking about my own mom, and that kind of turned into a meditation on what a woman's role is in a marriage and how that might disintegrate or how that might be challenged.
I've heard you talk in interviews about how your parents getting divorced allowed you to grow up in two homes, which made a space for you to become more deeply related to your Japanese culture, which might not have happened if your parents had lived in the same house together, and maybe your mother would try to assimilate more into the culture that she'd moved to.
Yeah. I mean, that was absolutely the experience that I had. I feel like with a lot of families, one language tends to take over, and it tends to be the dominant language of wherever you're living. And I actually really appreciate the experience I had because everyone in our household could speak Japanese, my sister, my mom, and I. And so we would take off our shoes when we went inside and sit on the floor to eat and sleep on roll out our beds on the floor and watch Japanese TV and listen to Japanese music. And that was able to exist very much in its own space, and my dad's house could exist in its own space. And so I appreciated that.
What kind of music spoke to you in relation to the artist that you wanted to become?
I guess the first access point that I had to music that felt attainable for me, because I grew up, when you're a kid, you listen to what's on the radio, and at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was on the radio very like pop vocals, things that just didn't feel accessible to me. So for me, a lot of the early to like mid 2000s, like indie folk was the first time I was like, oh, you don't have to be a perfect singer, and you don't have to like have a bunch of production on a song. Like you can just have a guitar in you. So I was listening to a lot of like Elliott Smith and Bright Eyes and Iron and Wine and Nick Drake, and those are the artists that first taught me like that this is something that you can do without this intimidating mountain of production and vocal prowess. And so that was good.
And how have you grown as an artist into a full band, and what was that process like, and how does that feel, making music with other people?
It feels really great. We've been playing, we've all been playing together for various different lengths of time. I started playing with Matthew a while ago, and we would do like duo tours for a while around the U.S., and that was like a really good entry points, like, okay, playing with one person and having like backing each other up. And then it was when we actually got together to record Best Wishes that we very first played with a full band. And that was with Nevada over there on keys and Cooper Trail. And that was really the first time we got to hear what a Maita rock band would be, and we had no real plans going into it of what it would sound like. But I think that without realizing it, I was writing songs that really needed that kind of catharsis and that opportunity to get really loud and intense and to be able to kind of dance between the different sides. I think for me, it was really important to have that opportunity for a sonic intensity and a sonic picture to accompany the emotions.
And it must be so great to be back out on tour with the band, playing in front of an audience. I know that you said that you really like being in contact with real people. I mean, as we all do, but strangers. And that I hadn't really thought about it until I read you talk about it in an interview, but that most, if not all, the people we talked to during the pandemic were mostly people that we knew, and that you like meeting new people, strangers.
Yeah, it was like the first time I met a stranger since the pandemic started. I remember thinking, like, I don't know where they grew up. I don't know where they were last week. Like, what do they do? Like, that was very exciting and novel, and it was something I had never really thought about. It's just like hearing a new life enter your space.
I do a lot of personal work thinking about the ego, and not just the ego that many people think of when they hear that word, but I was intrigued to hear you talk about the ego being a detriment to creativity, which I absolutely agree with. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I guess I do feel like when it comes to writing songs and coming up with ideas and just being open to what the universe might inspire in you, I do find that the more you're concerned with what you're doing, whether you're doing really well or really poorly, like the more time you spend thinking about yourself, the less time you have to be open to what else might come through. And for me as a songwriter, I need to be a good listener, and I need to be able to take everything in and think about it. And like I said, you're your own block there because you get in your own way sometimes.
Absolutely. That voice in your head sometimes, not always looking out for your best interests.
Yeah.
Well, it's so wonderful to have you here. The new album from Maita, I Just Want to Be Wild for You. Thank you all so much for coming in today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
And I want to remind our listeners that wonderful sessions like this are made possible by you. We're a listener-powered station. You can learn more about us or make a gift anytime at KEXP.org. And you can enjoy so many great videos like the one with Maita today on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you'll get notifications every time a new one launches. Thank you so much for joining us here. It's Maita live on KEXP. Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.